welcome back to Leaf Talk. The Maple Leafs have just defeated the Montreal Canadiens 4-3 and got off to I think a pretty good start. It wasn't a bad game. Let's go to Brian Wilkes, former NHLer, first. As you can see, we're also joined on the panel, which I'm really thrilled about. Nikki and Michelle Suriano joins us as well, both of whom have had a great deal of experience in sportscasting. But we'll go to Brian Wilkes first because I want to get your impressions overall of the Leafs' performance. Just briefly will say that I thought there was just too much violence in the game. That's my opinion. And we'll talk about that a little later. But I do think that the Leafs generally looked pretty good, and it was a pretty good opener.
Yeah, I thought it was a good start for the Leafs. It was a tough battle. It's first game of the season, one down, now 81 to go. And they started off a little slow, but I think their size and their physical presence kind of took over, in the last half of the game. You could see them taking over physically a smaller Montreal team, even though Montreal has gotten bigger with a few guys. They're still not as physically strong as the Leafs are. And Leafs speed also. Breakaway goal by Bozak was a real backbreaker. Shorthanded goal, which was a backbreaker. And then they got the fourth one by Mason Raymond to kind of close it out. So overall, a good performance. Reimer played a pretty good game. And, it's a good start to the season.
I want to talk about Reimer, but go ahead, Nikki, your thoughts.
I was going to say, if you want to count George Parros knocking himself out on the ice as playing physical, then yeah, they sure did that. But you know what? I thought there was far too much goonery in that game, right? And, I know everyone's fired up. First game of the season, but I just don't like seeing that kind of stuff going on all the time. The after whistle scrums and the meaningless fights. I mean, if I wanted to watch UFC, I'd fucking watch UFC. Sorry, it's just how I feel.
I agree.
For me, the irony of it all and the whole ironic situation with what happened with George Parros is the fact that players now, one of the new rules that's implemented in the 2013-2014 season is that players can't take off their helmets to fight. So they have their helmets on, and that's to protect themselves on things exactly that happen, falling to the ice and hurting themselves. And he did exactly that with his helmet on. So really, that rule, you can just see how many loopholes already are in some of the new rules that the NHL has implemented for this season. So for me, I want to see what they do to maybe tweak, if they do anything at all, or maybe they just say, well, this is a fluke incident, which in my opinion it was, but at the same time, I don't agree with the rule either.
You make some good points, Michelle. Folks, if you're just tuning in, let me explain to you what's going on here. We are starting a new program today. Earlier, before the game, we had the Leafs pregame talk, Leaf Talk, and our guests included Wayne Gretzky himself, Pat Quinn, who else was on?
Lanny Macdonald.
Lanny Macdonald, Hall of Famer, and
Bill Watters.
And it was, I thought, a terrific pregame show. We are now doing the postgame show here at Charleys Fitzwhiskeys before a crowded live audience. And Charleys Fitzwhiskeys is associated in Vaughan. As associated? Located. Okay, I swear, I have to be honest. I had a couple of beers during the game. I'm sorry. So, and I can't help it. And let's see, what else? There is somebody else here who wants to say something right now before we go any further. Handsome Howard came in, who of course is a good old friend of mine. He's probably a little tipsy himself, and he has, I don't know if it's a question or what, but Handsome Howard came in, who is the co-owner of Charleys Fitzwhiskeys right here in Vaughan. And by the way, the show's brought to you by McCain. Thank you, McCain. Go ahead, Handsome Howard. You have question number one on our post-game show.
Well, first of all, kudos to the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. I mean, they fell behind 2-1 early in the game. I think their physical presence in the game tonight, although it did get a little bit ugly near the end with the Parros incident, and although Colton Orr didn't really actually hit him, he just fell down and hit himself in the ice. But I mean, you never like to see things like that. But I think what the Leafs showed tonight is a little bit of character. I think that for the first game of the season, the emotions were running high. The Leaf team, I mean, they're on paper, they are expected to do pretty well. And, falling behind 2-1, and they showed some character coming back. So my question to the panel is, did you guys see something a little bit different with the Leaf team tonight, coming back from that 2-1 deficit, showing some physical presence late in the game, and actually winning their first game on the road, 4-3 against Montreal? Do you see something in this team that maybe wasn't there last year?
Noddy?
I wouldn't go that far. I mean, it's one game. I mean, ask me after 10 and maybe I can give you a different answer. Certainly a lot of physicality, no question. Whether or not that turns into smart physicality is another question. I mean, anybody can load up a team with goons and get into lots of fights. That doesn't take any skill, but it's using that size advantage in a way that actually helps you make the plays that's going to be the big question. And you think they're goons now, they don't even have Clarkson on the team. Wait until he comes back from his suspension and see how physical they can be.
Good point, Nikki, because with this team with Clarkson, they're even more of a physical team than they were tonight. So, I mean, it's a great sign they played so well even without Clarkson tonight.
Well, yeah.
To be completely honest, I saw the old Toronto Maple Leafs actually from last season and barely holding on to a lead. They did have a 4-2 lead with just 5 minutes to go in the third period, and all of a sudden, a shorthanded goal, a nice breakaway by Lars Eller, his second of the night. And it's a one-goal game, and everyone's heart in here at Charleys Fitzwhiskeys, we had to get some CPR going because everyone, yes, all the defibrillators and the 911 it was 9-1 because everyone here had, their heart stopped because of that last final minute, and it was the same thing that we saw last year, nail biting to the end and not being able to secure and get a victory once they have a lead.
Yeah, Michelle, you make some really good points, but Wilksy, I'm wondering if you thought that, the Maple Leafs, I thought, looked good on the special teams. The power play was pretty effective. The penalty killing was great with Bozak's goal. Yeah. I thought that, from that respect, playing on the road, forget all the goon shit. I really don't care about that stuff. And I don't think that wins games for you. I might be wrong, because there are people that say, if you're intimidated, you're going to lose. I don't know. I hope I'm right on that, because I don't think that's the way to win hockey. To me, the objective is put the puck in the net. But their special teams look pretty good.
Special teams look really good tonight. Bozak's goal was a difference tonight, and on the breakaway, taking the puck off, I think it was Markov, and he took made a great play on Price and made him look pretty bad in goal. Power play looked good. They were moving the puck quick. They were getting in the open. You got a goal from Van Riemsdyk, who is going to be a key player in this team. He's got great speed. He's got good size. And then with Bozak and Mason Raymond got a goal tonight. So those type of guys they're going to really need during the season, and that's going to be a key factor as the season goes along. The fighting part of it, that was kind of near the end of the game anyway. So it was sort of,
so you don't think it had an impact on the outcome?
That didn't have an impact on the outcome.
I'm happy to hear that. Michelle, what do you think about Mason Raymond, the acquisition from Vancouver?
To be completely honest, I think that was a bargain deal for the Maple
Leafs. $1 million.
Yeah, $1 million. You get him for a year. Yeah, you know what? If he does well, then maybe you can re-sign him next year, but at the same time, they have a ton of unrestricted free agents next year. One less is Phil Kessel now that he signed that 8-year deal. But I think he was a bargain deal for $1 million, and I think he will fit in nicely wherever he ends up playing. David Clarkson, of course, when he comes back, will take that second-line spot. So him with Bolin would be a really good third-line combination.
The question I have about Raymond is, will he last all season? Because he has a history of back problems, which I think was the real reason that Vancouver gave up on him. Folks, let's go to another question from the live audience here at Charleys Fitzwhiskeys.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hey guys, how you doing today?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. So I have a couple questions actually. My first one involving your last topic, as I was thinking about. So the projected lineup for the Leafs seems like the third line is penciled in to be Mason Raymond, Dave Bolin, and Nikolai Kulemin. I personally am incredibly intrigued by that third line. It seems like it's the perfect mix. Traditionally the third line is supposed to be your energy line, right? You got your first two scoring lines, your fourth line is supposed to be your utility players. Then you've got that third energy line, supposed to be great defensive, throw in a little secondary scoring. How do you feel like that specific third line matches up against the other third lines in the league? And do you feel like it's one of the strong suits of the Leafs?
Oh, I definitely think so. And I think the best compliment that anyone can pay to David Bolin is to say that if he was on the Leafs last year in Game 7 against Boston, they'd have won that game.
Most
and
certainly.
He's a real great kid from Mimico, which is where I grew up. And, got lots of
That's
opinions.
kind of irrelevant, though.
Hey,
Important to know.
Jonathan Taves, Brendan Shanahan, long line of great guys that came out of there. And you know what? I think that in a lot of ways, the third line is your counterpunch line, and it's meant to slow down the other team's top line as much as possible, and I think that that's something that he can do. Great two-way player. I think Mason Raymond showed tonight that he's got scoring skill as well as defensive ability. I didn't see him getting beaten too much, and they've got some depth up top that they didn't seem to have before.
Wiltsy, I did hear a lot of people at the bar during the game today, here at Charleys Fitzwhiskeys, talk about this third line. People are impressed, generally speaking, with Vaughan, Raymond, and who's the other guy? Kuhlman. I don't know. I didn't see much from Kuhlman. But what are your thoughts as a former NHLer? Is this a good third line?
I think it's a very good third line. I think there's speed on that line. Mason Raymond, who's can really add some speed to that line, so you need that. Dave Boland's a great two-way player. Comes from a championship pedigree. I think he has 2 Stanley Cups. He got the game winner in the Stanley Cup final last year. And then Kuhlman, who's a great big body, good two-way player with some good speed as well, and scored 30 goals a couple of years ago. So I don't know how many teams in the NHL are going to have as good a third line as the Leafs are, and so I think they're in good shape there.
Folks, you're watching Leaf Talk here on TalkingSports.tv. I had a couple of drinks, I told you.
Had a couple.
And with Brian Wilkes, I'm Marty York, Naughty Nikki, and of course Michelle Suriano. And let's throw it back to our audience.
Yeah, one more question. Based on, one of the big topics it seems like for the Leafs in the offseason was obviously goaltending. People were really unhappy with the way that Rimer performed in Game 7.
Good question.
In my opinion, it seems like they also forgot the fact that James Rimer played about 99 games before that, and for all goalies with experience of 100 games, he had a 926 save percentage, which is huge consider for goalies of that size. It's a very sizable starting goaltender percentage, with a larger sample size than Jonathan Bernier, who we'll see play tomorrow night. My question is, do you feel like, being that we are in Toronto and we are rooting for the team that is most notorious for having the harshest media and the harshest fans, reasonably, because we all do love hockey very much, do you feel like Rimer gets any unnecessary flack, or do you feel like it's all justified?
No. I mean, let me take a first crack at this, because I know you guys might disagree.
I know you hate Rimer.
I don't hate Rimer.
I know you dislike him greatly with curiosity.
No, please, that's a strong word. I don't hate Rimer. I mean, I know the young man. He's a good guy. But what I'm trying to say is that I'm not 100% sure that he's an NHL caliber starting goalie. I was very surprised myself that the big offseason acquisition, Jonathan Bernier, did not start in net today. And I did think that Rimer was a little soft on the Canadiens' shorthanded goal near the end of the game. I thought he should have had that. I'm not saying Reimer's bad. I'm saying he's a backup caliber player. And I think you better establish the fact that Bernier is your starting goalie, or you're going to have a controversy. You're going to have a goalie controversy, which can divide the clubhouse. You know, that's the way it
God
works.
forbid he rides us to the playoffs again this year.
This is my question to you with that, Marty. Do you think this was something on Randy Carlyle's part in just making sure that James Rimer still has confidence, knowing that, okay, a lot of people are perhaps blaming him for Game 7 and what happened with the Boston Bruins, and then
right.
You go out and you get a guy like Jonathan Bernier. Is this just making sure that, okay, we still have confidence in you enough that we are going to play you maybe not a 50-50 split, but maybe a 60-40 split?
I don't think so. I think tonight he had to come out and win the game, Carlisle, and I think he was putting in the best guy he thought to win the game. And Rimer had a great training camp.
And
a little better than Bernier.
Bernier was,
and he went with the better goalie. I thought he was going to go with Bernier for sure. Also, Bernier is a Quebec kid, and so I thought it was a no-brainer. And they wanted to promote and get Bernier to do the starting job. Really, that's why they got him, was to get the starting job. And so I was surprised Reimer started, and I thought he did pretty well. So.
Well, if they had gone out and got a 10-year veteran with starting experience and a couple of deep Stanley Cup playoff runs, maybe I'd agree. But that's not Jonathan Bernier. He's been a career backup for as long as he's been in the league, albeit one with all kinds of potential. But he's never proven that he could be a starter to the point where you can just plug him in like that. Whereas Rimer absolutely has, and for all the finger pointing in Game 7, it's real hard for a goaltender to stop the meltdown when the defenseman can't clear a goddamn rebound. And how many cracks the final goal that Boston scored, they had 4 shots on net without a Leafs player touching the puck. So I can't put all that on Rimer. And the point is, he's the incumbent, and it's up to Bernier to dislodge him. All other things being equal, I think they're going to alternate back and forth for the first 20 games of the season. And if one outplays the other, then that's your starting goaltender. You got time, you don't have to rush the decision, and see who comes out on top.
There's no doubt in my mind that Bernier starts tomorrow night. I mean,
Yeah.
No
that's
question.
a given.
Yeah.
Every
But-
back-to-back, they're going to have different goaltenders,
Yeah,
and that's a
but
smart way to play.
I just, maybe Michelle has a good point here. Maybe this is what Carlisle was thinking. But then, why doesn't Carlisle open up to the media and say, here is the reason that we're starting Rimer tonight. We don't want Bernier to get discouraged. We're starting Rimer because we'd like him to build up some confidence after having such a great training camp. I mean, if that's the logic, then by all means, say so. Why are we guessing about this? Why doesn't he just say that they're going to be used 50-50 and we'll start with Rimer tonight?
I think in Toronto, they want to hold back as much as possible because there's so much media, there's so many people talking about the goaltending situation, the team, that they hold back as long as possible
But
until
why?
the day of the game.
When you played for the Kings or in LA, or when you played for the Oilers, did your coaches worry about telling the media who the goalie was?
It's night and day between Toronto and LA. Like the media is night and day, and there's no comparison between the two. So it's a completely different, thing.
Mentality.
Yeah.
But only because of the hockey media.
Yeah.
Because Los Angeles has more media, sports media types than
But
Toronto.
they're not covering hockey though.
They're not covering hockey.
basketball, baseball,
Okay.
college football, college basketball. They're calling
All
everything
right.
else but hockey.
Okay, well, I'll buy that. Hayden, I know you.
How are you guys?
Good.
Hayden,
This
how you
guy's,
doing,
this
bud?
guy's a
Big
big shot lawyer in Toronto,
yeah.
folks.
Okay.
I want you to know.
Big shot, big shot.
Thanks for
Anyway,
joining us.
quick question. Tyler Bozak. The speed of Tyler Bozak, breaking away from a defenseman into his breakaway. Did that surprise you, how fast he was?
Not me, no.
Not a
He's a
surprise,
good
no.
player. Bozak's a good player, and that was a great play. He lost the face-off. He went out to the point man. He picked the pocket of Markov, beat him with his speed, and then the rest of the way he outskated Markov and made a great shot on goal. So it's a great goal, nice play, and it was a big point in the game.
How many
What?
goals this year?
Bozak? 20.
Yeah,
20.
I'll go with 20.
I was going to say 25, but
25,
he's got a bit of a
Nikki,
head start.
Is Bozak, I've heard him being described as a first-line center, the second-line center, third-line center. I don't know really that it matters, but is he the first-line center?
Well, he's the best center on the Leafs, which makes him the first line center by default, and he's getting paid kind of like a second line center would. So you can use all kinds of criteria to make that determination. The question is he a center that makes his wingers better? And Phil Kessel is going to ultimately determine whether or not Tyler Bozak was a good signing, more than Tyler Bozak himself.
By the way, Michelle Kessel, I didn't see that much from him today. That doesn't mean anything. It's one game.
You never know. He could perform tomorrow on his birthday. Right?
What is he, 26 tomorrow?
Yes, 26 tomorrow. And whether Leaf fans
Nice
like it or
birthday.
not, they're going to have him until the ripe old age of 34. So, yeah, it's not bad, but the Leafs are going to have him. I agree with Nikki in that, Bozak's worth is really going to ride on the shoulders of Phil Kessel. But at the same time, Kessel's talented enough that I think he can make things happen. The man's got an amazing shot. He's a good passer. We saw that last year when he started the season without a goal within the first 10 games. We saw how good he can pass as well. So it's going to really, I guess we'll see how good Bozak is if he receives some of those passes, right, from Phil Kessel again and does something with them.
Or if he's in a good position to pick up a rebound and bury it like we saw him do a few times last year. When you think about it, if you combine your top center and your top winger's salary and you look at it as $12.5 million for your 2/3 of your top line, that looks a little better than if you just got $8 million invested in one guy, So ultimately it's still a team game, and you can have a Sidney Crosby and go nowhere, or a Wayne Gretzky and go nowhere, and you need all players on all lines clicking if you really want to go deep in the playoffs.
Folks, you're watching our Leaf Talk post-game show here at Charleys Fitzwhiskeys. It's brought to you by McCain, and I wouldn't mind some of those curly fries that McCain does. I don't know.
Those are
Let's
so
get some
tasty.
curly fries here. What the hell? Look who's back. Handsome Howard came in and got a mic in his hand. That's dangerous.
First of all, I want to thank our great panel tonight, Michelle Suriano. First time here at Charleys Fitzwhiskeys. We welcome you, and you're as beautiful as they claim you to be. So,
She is.
I think
I gotta
Naughty
see.
Nikki Thomas, thank you very much once again. Been a few times we've seen you here, but
You're very welcome.
great to see you. And of course, Marty York and Brian Wilkes. Great to have you guys here tonight, so thank you very much. Tomorrow night, guys, we've got live here at Charleys Fitzwhiskeys on the phone, Daryl Sittler, one of the greatest Toronto Maple Leafs ever to put on the sweater. Now, we got John LeClaire, Philadelphia Flyer great, who the Leafs are playing, and ex-Leaf coach Paul Maurice. So make sure you're here early tomorrow night here at Charleys Fitzwhiskeys for the show. What time are we starting that? Around 6 o'clock?
6 p.m.
So get here 6 o'clock, enjoy your chicken wings and beer, and hear Sittler, LeClaire, and Maurice. We do have some prizes to give out tonight.
Okay, Howard,
Yeah.
we're on the air right now. Do your prizes afterwards.
No, we got to give the prizes out now. Because
On the air?
People might have left, so we got to make sure. That
Millions
they're here.
of people all across the
So-
world are watching you do this.
So whether you're here or not, you do qualify for our prizes. First of all, Leaf tickets. How many bars actually give out Toronto Maple Leaf hockey tickets other than Charleys Fitzwhiskeys? So let's give a hand. And the winner for the Leaf tickets, whether you're here or not, is David DiPaola. Is David here?
David.
Okay, we have his phone number, so we'll call him and tell him he won Leaf tickets. As well, we have a Corona package. Beers, Corona, some other fine Corona gifts. And the winner for that is Kevin Watson. Kevin Watson here tonight.
Kevin Watson? Okay.
Okay, well, we will get a hold of these people, being
Hey,
the
Howard.
type of bar we are. We will get a hold of them, and we will get back to our show. And
Good stuff.
guys, don't be afraid to come out and ask questions. We got a great panel here. Step up to the panel and ask your question.
All right. Get out of here.
Davey Eisen, you got a question about tonight's game. You must be very proud about your Toronto Maple Leafs.
Another homer wearing a Maple Leafs shirt.
Hey, love those.
Over, Davey.
Hi,
Hey
Dave.
guys, hello to the world. I just want to say that I thought Colton Orr stood up for the Leafs tonight in today's hockey where enforcers are unfortunately still necessary. In the game of hockey, we got one of the best. And
What did he do?
Colton Orr stood up twice to Peros, one of the tough guys of the league, one of our rivals. And unfortunately, for those that don't like it, it's realistic, but that's the way the game is played. And so whether you put pucks in the net or you knock the other guy down, it's the way the game goes.
Okay.
And we knocked the other guy down.
You know, in all seriousness, about the Peros injury, Orr had nothing to do with that. It was just a case of Peros missing and then hitting his face on the ice. And it looks to me like it's pretty serious. Wiltsy, have you seen anything quite like that before?
Yeah, I've seen a few things like that.
So when
yeah.
people say that you can't get hurt in a hockey fight, it's bullshit, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we saw last year with Fraser McLaren when he fought the kid from Ottawa, the big guy
Yeah.
from Ottawa. Same thing, but McLaren actually hit him with a punch, and it shows you what a punch can do when these guys are 6'5", 250, and they're hitting someone's head, you know, and you can do a lot of damage. So definitely, you know, it's not got, you know, lightweights fighting. These are heavyweights, and they're going at it, and you know, things can happen out there.
Nadia, I know you have strong opinions
Well,
about that.
you know what? Like I watch the games to see players score goals and make passes, and watch goalies make great saves. And you know, if I wanted to watch boxing, I'd watch boxing.
Let
If
me
I
throw
wanted
the
to watch
question back to
UFC, I'd watch
Dave,
that.
Davey Eisen here, who's,
I don't see
by the
how it
way,
adds anything.
a co-owner of Charleys Fitzwhiskeys as well. And he's very popular, as you can tell. But Davey, let me ask you this. If it's Colton Orr that happens to get a freak injury like that and goes down and ends up busting his face, are you bitter about it because you like Orr? You appear to be a big Orr fan. It could have happened to him just as easily.
It could. I mean, it's happened to Orr before. We've lost him. Again, I'm not condoning the fighting. And I'm saying I could do without it. The league could do without it. But in today's day and age, where winning is what it's all about, these enforcers are part of it. And I'm glad to have one of the tougher enforcers in the league that can protect the Kadris, protect the Bozaks, protect the our other boys. And as long as they allow it in the league, I'm proud to have Colton Orr.
Michelle, I absolutely long for the day where anyone who starts up with anything, whether it's a hack in the ankle like Kessel did in the preseason, or whether it's a punch or an illegal hit, bless you, Nikki, or any live television, you're sneezing. That's pretty cool. Let's just say, we reach the point where people say, we don't like this stuff anymore. Now, I know that's not true, unfortunately, in my opinion, and we all seem to be agreeing here. But when you hear the cheering at Charleys Fitzwhiskeys when there was fighting today, you could tell that people still get a vicarious pleasure out of that and like it, unfortunately. But I long for the day where any rough stuff is automatically results in, if not a game misconduct, a suspension. And, as there is in any other sport. I don't see why it doesn't happen in hockey. And it really bothers the hell out of me that we have people talking about what great enforcers people are or what great protectors they are. It bugs me. And nothing against Davey Eisen because he knows his hockey. But it really bothers me that that's even a subject that merits any consideration. I don't want to hear about people enforcing or protecting. I don't want any of that. Because the minute you do something like that, you should be gone. That's my opinion.
To be completely honest, I wish all tough guys were more like Chris Neal of the Ottawa Senators, because he can do everything. That's right. The man can skate, he can score. You're not going to get anything more than 15 goals out of the guy, but you know what? He works hard. He's a pretty good skater. He can score some goals, but you know what? He'll stand up for you to the very end. And if more, enforcers were like that, then maybe we would have a little bit less of what we saw today and basically bullying teams around, which is essentially what, this Maple Leafs team is about right now, is they're bullying teams into being scared of them. But maybe we would see smart hockey and only see that maybe once every few weeks instead of once a game.
I wish it reached the point where the minute that happens, he gets suspended. Davey has something to say.
It is the only sport in the world that allows fighting.
Yeah, and it's the only...
And it shouldn't be. Except for boxing or something.
Right. Well, fighting in hockey is the only point where you're allowed to actually try and hurt somebody, and I mean injure them.
Yeah.
You can check them and knock them off the puck. In basketball, you can hand check people. Football, you can hit people to try and tackle them. Baseball, you try throwing a ball at somebody and you get tossed out for it. You're actually allowed to try and injure somebody in hockey through a fist fight. And to me, that just doesn't make any sense in today's day and age. And I think it should go the way of the dodo and disappear from existence.
I agree.
You know what? Today is a different game than it was 30, 40 years ago. And I agree, maybe the days come, but it's also still part of the rules and it's part of the game. And Colton Orr and Fraser McLaren last year made a huge difference for that team. They made a huge difference for that team. You can talk about it all you want, but those guys sitting on the bench make a difference playing against some of these teams that they're thinking twice coming into the ACC. And as long as it's part of the rules, then you go with the best you can go with. And Colton Orr and Fraser McLaren are the best in the game.
Well, what happens if there is a dirty hit on a guy like Phil Kessel, Nazem Kadri? Wouldn't you?
The dirty hitter gets ejected immediately.
And that's the only, and you're okay with that being the only retribution and the only
That'll
thing?
be a deterrent.
That's
Nobody
the only
wants
thing.
to get ejected or suspended. I think that would be enough. The guy's going to lose his
Especially
salary.
if you take away their paycheck at the same time.
Take away their paycheck, yeah.
Like fighting maybe was a deterrent when these guys weren't making money, but now take away their ability to pay the bills and maybe then they'll think
I
twice.
think having Colton Orr and Fraser McLaren on the bench is a deterrent for guys not running at a Phil Kessel and a Nazem Kadri.
And this is coming from a guy, folks, who didn't play dirty in the NHL. He was anything but. He was a skill player. We have a young Leaf fan who'd like to ask a quick question, and then we're going to wrap it up.
What do you guys think about the Phil Kessel signing?
Are you scratching your chest? Or
Yeah.
what do we think about Phil Kessel signing?
Do you think that he's overpaid or he's overrated?
You know what was, I'll take first crack. Yeah. What was interesting about this was that former management members of the Maple Leafs were on our pregame show tonight. Pat Quinn, who was the general manager and head coach, and Bill Watters, who was the assistant general manager. Both of them said clearly to us that they thought that it was a bad decision, that he wasn't worth that kind of money, and they never would have made that decision. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think Phil Kessel is a top 10 player in the NHL. So, I mean, whether they overpaid a little bit for him, they might have. He's 26 years old. By the time the contract's up, he'll only be 34. It's not like he's signing at 30 and he'll be 38, 39. So he's coming into the prime years of his hockey career, and they might have played a little more for them, but to keep him, as a Toronto Maple Leaf, get this signing so they don't have to go through the season and going back and forth to get it done before the season, I think is great as well. So I think that was part of it, and he's a Toronto Maple Leaf, and they don't want to lose their best player.
Yeah, well,
That's a good point.
I said at the beginning of the episode that I don't love it, I don't hate it, I kind of like it, but when I looked at the actual details and I saw that the contract goes down over the course of it's front loaded. It's like $10 million the first year, $10 million the second year, and then it goes down to $6 million by the end of it. That might help things a little bit because he won't be producing like a top 10 player by the end of it, but he won't be paid like a top 10 player by the end of it either. So I think that it does make some sense to do it like that, and hopefully they won't regret it the way they've regretted some other really bad signings in the past.
Michelle, we're going to wrap up tonight. You get the last word.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. To be completely honest, I don't know if he's worth $8 million. He is the Toronto Maple Leafs best player. Yes, he scored 30 goals in the first 3 seasons being with the Leafs. He led them throughout the postseason when a lot of people thought that he was going to falter, especially against the Bruins. But he did do a really good job in being productive in the postseason. So he deserves money, but I wouldn't give him, an average of $8 million a year. Like we said, it's front loaded. Sidney Crosby only gets 9.5. And same with, Same with Evgeny Malkin. And to me, those two are still a step or two above Phil Kessel. So to me, he's worth between 6 and 8, but I don't think he's worth 8 and above.
The definitive answer, folks, is that if they didn't pay Phil Kessel that kind of money now, they would have lost him. And you don't want to lose a guy who, as Brian said, is a top 10 player in the NHL. Did they overpay? Probably. Probably. I think we're all in agreement they probably overpaid. But did they have a choice? I don't think so. And this way they know Phil Kessel is going to be part of their operation. Even if he ends up being wretched in 5 years from now, hopefully for the Leafs' sake, he'll have a few good years.
The future is now.
The future's now. And this season, a lot of people are saying, like Josh Rimmer, that they're going to win the Stanley Cup this year. We got to say goodbye. I want to say thank you very much to Michelle Suriano, to Naughty Nikki Thomas, to Brian Wilkes, Handsome Howard Kamen, Davey Eisen, our executive producer David Grossman, and all of his staff. And we want to say thank you to everybody here at Charleys Fitzwhiskeys. We will be back, as Howard said, tomorrow night with Daryl Sittler, with John LeClaire, and with Paul Maurice. I had a few beers,
You had a few.
And what? And McCain, we want to say thank you to our sponsor. McCain, thank you very much, Nikki. Thank you to everybody. We'll see you tomorrow for our pregame show at 6 o'clock Eastern Time. Good night.